Good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer on vacation. He should return on Monday. We are joined in studio by the pure sweat basketball skills. He is the man, Mr. Bart Reed. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. Good afternoon, Bart.
Hello, Randy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. This is not basketball weather. This is not football weather. I'm not sure, and I have done it many a time, sat in a lawn chair at a ballpark, at a tournament of some sort, and you're thinking, I'm going to die.
It's just too hot.
It's hot.
It's
It is
too
hot out there.
I feel bad for the football kids.
Yeah. Well, when the games start, which they will start, I guess the week of the 21st, August 21st, there'll be a game here, a game there, so, blah, 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 all the way through Friday, the 25th. They got to go through this.
Yep.
Because that's how the game is going to be played.
Have to be conditioned.
So you got to be ready. So, man, lots been going on. I know we talk about whether it be Honor Boateng or whether it be about Terrion Burgess. But if you would put in context, Bart, what it means for those kids to be selected to this another elite camp.
Well, certainly for Honor as he's transitioning. So let's let all the Razorback fans know that don't know he's going to be in Fayetteville Thursday and Friday for his official visit, which will be, I think, a big time for Honor, but a big time for Arkansas as well. But certainly Honor close to that. I mean, Randy, he could sign as early as November. So that's knocking on the door. Certainly Terrion as well. He's got certainly another year. He's behind Honor, so he's a 2025. Nonetheless, it goes a testament to how great these two are. USA, Adidas Nation, it's just incredible when you stack it all up, how elite these two are.
What is the ceiling, or is there a ceiling right now? I mean, every time, as the example with Terrion, it seemed like he's just kept moving his game up another level. Is there a ceiling for either one of these two youngsters?
I think the ceiling now, as we look at it, and we have precedent now with Nick being drafted, and certainly Anthony, I think they're pros. And the degree of the pros, they have pro-ready game, and that goes to what Coach Musselman is recruiting, but it goes to the way the game has moved, the way the kids are training. But Honor is a freakish offensive player, but also defensive player. And I think the same could be said for Terrion, who's only going to put on weight and get stronger. So they're pros. Are they one and done? Possibly. They're that good.
It would start a trend. I guess Moses got it started, a one and done.
Yep.
And now, this past season, had another couple of three one and dones.
Yep.
And who knows what next year will yield. By the way, Arkansas baseball added another commitment. This from fifth-year senior outfield Lincoln Riley. He was previously of Eastern Illinois, batted .307, had 20 multi-hit games this season, including a pair of hits in games against Arkansas and Vanderbilt. He slugged .424, had an on-base percentage of .423 for an OPS of .847. 11 doubles, 2 triples, 4 home runs, 38 RBIs, 18 of 20 in stolen bases. Now, he is a center fielder, so that means there's a lot of competition now in that outfield. 5'8", 110-pound center fielder, and he finished the season with an on-base streak of 24 consecutive games, including both games at the NCAA Nashville Regional at Vanderbilt, named All-Region. He did not commit an error. This is amazing. Did not commit an error defensively and had 4 assists. So add him to the mix.
Wow. That's a resume.
Arkansas baseball Razorbacks, and the prospects look really good, at least on paper, for the outfield, which is totally, if you go by last year, totally depleted because of all of the um, previous players moving on to the MLB. All right, put this. Now I really want you to put this in perspective, Bart. Boston Celtic star Jaylen Brown has agreed to sign the richest deal in NBA history. 5 years, $303.7 million. It is the Supermax contract extension that assumes a maximum 10% cap increase in 2024. Now, when you get into this stuff, I get lost on this cap extension and blah, blah, blah. Put that in perspective, Bart. I mean, even with my shaky math, that's almost 60 million a year.
60 million a year. And listen, I can totally see it because the Celtics cannot lose a player like Jaylen Brown. He's an all-star. He fits a multitude of pieces because he can drive, he can shoot, he can defend. He's an unselfish guy. And as we're learning, as I read an article about Zion has only played, Randy, 114 games out of 400 possible. Jaylen Brown is available. He's not hurt. He's available. He plays all the time. So that's certainly a big pickup, even though certainly at a cost for the Boston Celtics.
So back again to that term or question, ceiling. Where is the ceiling? I mean, I understand. Okay, TV pays, rights. You don't want the owner to reap the benefits. They're going to share it with the players. That comes through salary and the union agreements on contracts and so forth and so on. But where does it? I mean, Ohtani could easily sign an $800 million deal with in this next free agent window.
So I think the old 80s matchup for us are immune to the cost. I think Boston and LA. LeBron last year signs a $92 million 2-year extension. So the revenue is there because the fans with a product on the court or on the field certainly are going to come in attendance. The TV rights are obviously through the roof. And listen, their front office people know exactly what they're doing. I don't think there's anybody that's done a better job than the Boston Celtics over the last 5 years of really implementing a system, hiring a coach, and personnel-wise.
Well, the question is, I mean, Brad Stevens moved from the playing court. He was the bench coach. Now he's the general manager. And anything that goes through any kind of negotiation has to go through the general manager. Now, you would think next you got to deal with Jason Tatum. But then they also made a huge off Porzingis this past off season. And his price tag is not cheap. I don't know enough about the NBA and their structure. Like in Major League Baseball, you've got luxury tax. The more you spend, there's, I think, at least 3 tiers in Major League Baseball. The more you spend, the more you're going to pay in luxury tax. That's supposed to go back to the other clubs to help feed those clubs to where they can pay the kind of money it's going to take to so-called be competitive. And you could argue that some of these they must put it in their back pocket because they don't seem to be making big investments back into the back into their program. But I just wonder where the end is for all of this. I know we've talked about college football coaches. There's no cap there. Now it seems to be 10 million is now going to be somewhat a familiar number. You might see a lot of $10 million head football coaches in college football. You know, it's funny, and I have nothing to base this on, but I got to believe there are some NFL coaches who are not making $10 million a year. But then the dynamics of the two games don't match up except they're using a football. And some of those guys, they don't want to recruit 365 days out of the year.
That's right.
And so forth and so on. I mean, they work all year round, I'm sure, in the NFL, but not from sunrise to sunset. And they're not all the way, it seems like, to the summer. They're out there at some kind of camp or whatever it may be. But where does it end on the professional level, though, Bart? I mean, where who's going to suffer in this?
Well, so the unique thing is in the NFL, coaching is everything, right? So in the NBA, coaching, it really is minimized because the players have a bigger impact than the coaches. So certainly, I think in the NBA, the players are going to continuously have that power. I think they have more power and you might disagree, Major League Baseball and the NBA than anywhere else. Contracts for the most part are guaranteed in both sports, so they're going to pay that money. Where does it end? I really don't know, because these players are really, really, and as the game becomes more commercialized, it spreads. We're already seeing sponsorships now on jerseys in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. In Major League Baseball.
Renaming arenas. So that, obviously, it's a pure business. And I looked it up, Randy. So that as much as the Celtics are paying in payroll, they're 18th in the league in spending. So they're not even in the top 10. So even with paying Porzingis 36, let's see, Tatum 32, Jaylen Brown's, I don't know, it's got his updated, but it's 31. They're still 18. So they're not even close to being at the salary cap. So,
jeez. Spend. If not, you fall behind.
That's exactly right.
That's the issue there, though. Regardless of the sport, you got to spend.
Yep.
They gave the Chargers gave Justin Herbert a 50. Joe, what was it? 51 million. He's barely ahead of Hurts. He's barely ahead of, is it Watson or is it Lamar Jackson? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. All those guys are in the same ballpark, but it's about 52 mil, a little
52,
over 52
okay.
mil.
So that means Joe Burrow can finally get his done for 53.
Yes, that's what'll happen, because he'll be the next to get signed, so he'll get a little bit more money.
Joe, did you see this? I should have showed it to you a minute ago. I know you probably can't read the headline from in there, but it says Aaron Judge is in Tampa playing simulated games. The Yankees don't rule out a return this weekend. He is not Shohei Ohtani, but he would be huge for a totally pathetic offensive lineup of the New York Yankees.
Oh, right on. They need him. They've been missing him in the worst way. And the thing about him is he scared everybody at one time, because he said he doesn't know if he'll ever be the same because of that toe injury. And it's been a long process of trying to get him back on the field.
Have you ever seen the highlights of that play?
Yes.
Where he runs in? It's at in LA. They were playing the Dodgers. The guy, Bart, basically, it was like a bull trying to run through a fence. And he caught the ball, which is amazing. He caught the ball. He hung on to it. But he also tore ligaments in his toe. And he decided not to go the surgical route. And
imagine he did that and the fence actually gave way.
Yeah, I did.
He went through it.
Yeah, I did.
And, if it stays there and it's steady, you don't know how that injury.
He might have broken his foot.
Exactly.
That's crazy. He is
a big guy.
Oh, I had a chance to see him last year. Rick and I did. We watched the Kansas, the Royals, and the Yankees. And golly. In fact, you don't realize how big Giancarlo Stanton is and how big even Anthony Rizzo is. They put they could line up, and out of a 7-man offensive line in professional football, they might all be tight ends because they're about 275 to 285 pounds. He is 6'7", 200. I think 75 pounds is what he weighs.
And think about that. Not only basketball, you mentioned football, basketball, baseball, football, they could do it all at that size. They could play any sport.
Absolutely.
They are that good. They are that good of athletes. And that particular day, he was in center field.
Is he 6'7"?
He's 6'7".
Okay.
275 pounds. And probably runs, what do you think, Joe? 4.7?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be a prototype all-pro.
He could be a pro.
NFL.
Now, Joe,
Tight end.
I'm relying upon you to help those of us, such as myself, who has such a weak mind. And I can't understand for the life of me. Saquon Barkley signs a 1-year deal worth up to $11 million. So for all of the hoopla and all of the gnashing of teeth and whatever else, that's maybe if he hits all of the incentives, it'd be 11 million. Wasn't the cap figure for the franchise tag $10.1 million?
That's exactly what it was. And so, yeah, to your point,
Why?
it's like if you weren't satisfied with that, how do you all of a sudden become satisfied with less than $1 million more? You would think if somebody was going to try to get a little bit more money, it would have to start at least 2 mil, maybe somewhere between 2 and 5 mil extra added on to that. But to get less than $1 million and now all of a sudden you want to show up, it didn't make a lot of sense.
Now, did I not read? I'm looking at this right now. It says, according to Adam Schefter, 10.1 million fully guaranteed, just like it would have been if it had been the franchise tag, $909,000 in incentives with equal amounts paid for the following 3 categories: 1,350 rushing yards.
Wow.
But here is the hook: and a playoff berth.
Wow.
That's like read the fine print.
Yeah.
What if he rushes for 1,550 yards, but they don't make the playoffs? Giants don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, you have to separate those.
Yeah,
A good
absolutely.
agent would get those things separated.
Well, apparently
Amen.
they didn't.
Because that's not in his control. Well, he has his part, but certainly.
No, somebody said yes to this deal. 11 touchdowns, 65 receptions. Now, here's what is equally as interesting as anything to me. There have been only 6, count them, 6 running backs in NFL history to have hit all of those benchmarks, including the team's playoff berth. Le'Veon Bell, 2014. I wasn't going to ask you guys to even pretend to give
try
me
to guess, huh?
Emmitt Smith.
Ray Rice in 2011. Nobody probably would have gotten this one. Priest Holmes in 2003. Tiki Barber, 2002. The great Marshall Faulk, 3 times from 1999 to 2001. And the very first to do it was Marcus Allen in 1985.
Yeah.
So you talking about everything working against you?
Should've
All
been
for
$5 mil.
$900,000?
Should have been $5 mil tied to those incentives.
Good
Listen,
gosh.
he needs to take a page from Kirk Cousins, who made a really nice living off a franchise tag.
Oh, he did that, what, 2 times at least, if
Yeah.
not 3?
Yeah. And then roll that into guaranteed money with
Big
a
time.
fully guaranteed contract.
First one to get it, was he not, Joe?
And then it kept extending that contract.
Yep. The deal does not include a no franchise tag clause, meaning the Giants can tag him again after this season. I hope they do, just to see how ridiculous of a contract he'll agree to the next time around. But anyway.
At least all the money's guaranteed, right?
No, only 10.1.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. If you're saying the deal is worth up to 11 million.
Okay.
I mean, it's like Joe
Right.
said, instead of agreeing to $909,000 worth of incentives, when you've only had 6 running backs in NFL history hit all his benchmarks, that should have been more than $909,000.
Here's the other thing that threw some people off. They said, well, he's getting a $2 million signing bonus. That's not additional money. That 2 mil is coming out of that 10 mil.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God.
I think people think when they say signing bonus, like in the NBA, that's extra money. That's just part of the money. In your contract. You just get it sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the part that I can't wait to talk to Chris about this. Chris Turner's our NFL agent guru. Um, when it comes to, okay, I've got a $35 million contract, and let's say it's for 4 years, and I want to take, I don't know if it was one of the defensive backs, I can't remember, but he's getting like a 20 million signing bonus.
Devin Witherspoon that hasn't signed yet. Is that who you're talking
I don't
about?
know, Joe. But then the second part of it is he'll get 20 million. So it had to be more than 35 million, but like a 20 million signing bonus. He'll get 20 million in the first year. How can he have only like 5 million the next year? I always thought you took it. If it was a 3-year contract, you divide it by 3, and that's what you would get on an annual basis. Is that not true?
No, that's not how it works. And that works for the team where they're able to save some money against the cap by doing it that way.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying how crazy some of these deals are. All right. Bart Reed. I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue. Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Bart Reed. I'm Randy Rainwater. Thanks for tuning in today. Robert Irwin Jewelers is the number one place to buy diamond engagement rings. First of all, and we can talk about mountings, we can talk about all the other stuff, but I can almost 100% guarantee you the lady of your dreams, she's going to care about the size of that diamond that goes inside that engagement ring. And one of the neat things about Robert Irwin Jewelers, they have a large selection of lab-grown diamonds, giving you even more choices. So let's say I'm on a decent budget and she likes that, 1 carat, let's say, for instance. You might could save significant dollars between a natural diamond and the lab-grown diamond. And I can tell you, you cannot tell the difference. Cannot tell the difference. And if you can dream it, Robert Irwin Jewelers can make it. Just take a picture, a drawing. It has to be a picture for me because I can't draw anything. They will make the ring of your dreams. Now, this is the summer of 1,000 engagements. Ask her now, pay later with great financing options like 24-month deferred interest, or take up to 60 months and pay a low APR. And there are 2 locations, McCain Mall in North Little Rock, and the new location at the Pleasant Ridge Town Center. That's next to the Fresh Market. Bigger, broader diamonds, better prices. Robert Irwin Jewelers, or go online at rijewelers.com. Well, Bart, this is kind of along the lines we were talking about a few moments ago. This from our Asher Wrecker Service Company. Casey says, guys, Randy, Slash, I hear the ceiling today in business news will be pushing $1 billion in a 10-year contract. Coming soon. Wrap your head around that. $1 billion in a 10-year contract.
Well, look how much tickets are. Tickets, unless you're in Memphis, New Orleans, someplace like that where demand is not really, and I lived in Memphis, so you could go scalp great tickets. It costs a fortune to go to a game. It's almost out of the average person. So you got a concession, you take your kids, you got the apparel now, jerseys, shorts, $100. Like, it's the amount of commercial products in sporting now, professional sports certainly is a humongous business venture.
Okay, I'm looking at today's schedule, and I was supposed to have Bart Reed on at 4:30. Instead, Bart Reed's in studio. And you need to send the private line to Bill, and let's get him on.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, speaking of this today, this is not exactly, I think, what John Calipari was angling for when he basically wanted to play Summer League games. But today, a huge, massive get by University of Arkansas. Arkansas is to host Purdue in an exhibition charity game. Now, if you remember a year ago, well, a little bit over a year ago now, but over a year ago, Arkansas went down to Austin, took a little spanking in that exhibition game. Now, this time they're going to take on the Purdue Boilermakers. And once again, this will be a exhibition game, will not count on the schedule. And Purdue is going to be among the nation's top 3 teams this summer. And the game is October the 28th, which is a Saturday at Bud Walton Arena. Tip-off is set for 3 o'clock. And this will not be part of the men's basketball season ticket package. And proceeds from the game will go to the United Way to assist with relief efforts from the tornadoes that affected Arkansas this past spring. Broadcast information, complete ticket information, including when the tickets will go on sale, will be announced at a later time. This is a big time game, Bart.
Big time. And listen, it's great for the teams, it's great for the players, but it's also great for the coaches, as everybody was in panic last year when Texas. It was awful. We didn't look great. But that's a time that coaches can really evaluate and get out of the practice setting and get on a game court, even though it's not an official game.
Hello?
It certainly gives
Bill.
pressure.
Bill.
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Hey, Bill.
We snuck you on. How are you today?
I'm good. How you guys doing today?
Man, dude.
I thought I was calling and someone was going to answer and tell me to hold on.
Well, no, I decided I saw the phone ringing. I knew it had to be you, so I just put you on. How about that?
Well, man, hey, listen, you made me feel special today.
You're very special.
You're a special guy, Bill.
Yeah, sure. How you guys? How's it going? And I appreciate you guys having me on. And of course, I'm enjoying the show as usual. You know, Randy, you hey, listen, you always been one of my favorite guys. You're even more special about putting up with Bart. Special guy.
I thought this would be a nice experiment today. Bart has never, I don't think, ever sat in this capacity as being a quote co-host for about 3 hours. And we're going to find out how much wind he really has in his sails.
So, Bill, I got to ask a question. So we were just talking about the exhibition game. What job do you think that Matt Painter's done at Purdue? Do you not think he's done a fantastic job? It seems like every year Purdue is in the top.
Oh man, he's built an excellent program. They're consistent, good every year. You know what you're going to get from them. They're going to be excellent on defense. They're going to run their offense. They like a half court game, but they are an opportunist running team. Anytime they get opportunity to run, they'll run. He's recruited well.
Yep.
You know, they go out there, and I'm telling you, I've known Matt for a while. I'm really good friends with a couple of guys on their staff, and they recruit guys that can play in their system, and their system requires guys, you know, that's going to be probably 2 or 3 year guys. Now, occasionally they'll have a one and done, but they mostly have guys that's going to be there 2 or 3 years and play within their system, and they do a great job with it. They're competing every year to go to the Final Four, and that's what you want out of your program.
Now, Bill, how does a player, though, like Zach Edney, who was the National Player of the Year, how does he not go into the draft?
Well, you know, I think I think he probably looked at. I'm sure the NIL has something to do with it. He probably looked at his draft status and probably figured that another year would help him. And one thing about it, he's continued to get better every year. You see, he's made great strides every year playing in that system. And I wouldn't expect anything less this year. I think he'll probably be a lot better than this year than he were last year. And that'll help his draft status as well.
I gotta believe it all had to be about the NIL. You know, if I'm projected second round, some of these guys are making upwards to $1 million a year. Why not go ahead and seize them one more year? And I'm not hurting financially, so can't live much better than what you can at the collegiate level. You know, you're going to probably travel just as well as you would in the NBA. Speaking of travel, how are you? Is your tongue hanging out? The Hawks? Are you done for the summer? Catch us up on the Hawks.
Well, yeah, we finished up last week in Vegas. You know, that was one of our better teams. We've had some great teams, but that was one of our better teams that we've had that we've had in our program. And yeah, we're finished for the summer, which I'm back to Arkansas Baptist full time now. So these guys had a tremendous summer though, and they were very good. You know, when I tell guys all the time I sit down, we're the only problem. We're the only fully sponsored shoe company team that comes from a small market. If you look at the rest of these shoe company teams from Nike, Adidas, or Under Armour, they come from big markets. But I didn't, and you never realize when you're putting teams together. I didn't realize because I would think we're probably a top 15 team in the country. Last year we might have been a top 10. I think we're a top 15 team in the country, but all of our kids are from. I didn't realize it's from Central Arkansas this year. Now that doesn't mean we don't
Wow.
have kids from all over the state, but when you have all your kids from Central Arkansas and you playing, and every team you're playing, it's like we played the Riverside Hawks a couple of weeks ago in Vegas. It was a great game. They're from the city of New York. They're from the heart of New York. And when you're playing against teams like that, and beating teams like that, and you look at your kids, and they from Central Arkansas, we got a 5-star, 4-star on the team. We got potentially 2 other, maybe 3 Power 5 players, and all these kids come from every time when people look at our roster, they say, man, all y'all kids are from Central Arkansas. I can't believe that you have just that kind of talent in that part of the state. And I said, it's all over the state. We just this year we ended up having a team like that, but it was just incredible to have guys like that and guys that great kids. There's good. Some of them are great students. All of them are good students. Some of them are excellent students. Just like on a boat team, this guy has it all. I mean, he has the whole thing: the academics, the athletics. So we just fortunate, but a lot of it has to do with the high school programs they come from. A lot of it has to do with the people they have around them, just making sure they get the right training and just being in a good space where they can perform well.
Bill, can you hang on for one more segment?
Of course.
Hang tight. Bill Ingram. That is the athletic director of Arkansas
That's right.
Baptist College. All right. Bart Reed, I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue. Welcome back to Drive Time Sports and the Buzz Radio Network. Bart Reed, our special guest today. I'm Randy Rainwater. We'll go back to Bill Ingram in just one moment. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends at Double B's. You know, we talk about complete packages all the time. They've got this, they've got that, they got the complete package. Well, that's what you're going to find at Double B's. They have the complete package. Chris Kane was on yesterday, and as we were leaving last night, he said, I'm headed to Rosebud. I said, really? I said, I'm going with you if that's the case, because Rosebud is internationally famous for either the hot plate lunch or the great hamburger. So we're going to take a little road trip to Rosebud. And one of the other of my favorites is, and I've talked about it before, starting my day off right with the bean to cup coffee. But then some of my other favorites I find as they alter from month to month the different items that are on sale. And it's such as, this has become a must-have around my household, 2-liter crush or mug root beer. Root beer in my house is back. Love it. $2.59 for a 2-liter mug. Hadn't quite gone all the way with the crush, but getting closer. And then there's the 12-ounce Celsius or the Celsius Heat, 2 for $5. These are just the two of the July specials you'll find at your local Double B's. And I always say, don't forget to ask your Double B's cashier about sign up for a rewards card where you can save money on purchases at all stores. That's Double B's, where you gas it, grab it, and go. Make it Double B's. Joined again by Bill Ingram, who is the athletic director at Arkansas Baptist. He is the Arkansas Hawks founder, head coach, washes all the clothes, chief cook and bottle washer. And now he's getting a little bit of a break. Right. And he's back at work at Arkansas Baptist. Bill, how many years you been grinding away with the Arkansas Hawks?
Man, I tell you, it's been 28 years, Randy.
28? That's almost as many years as I've been born.
So
yeah, right.
I know it.
So, Bill.
I know it. I knew that when I saw that great picture of you this last winter looking like Santa Claus. I looked at that. I said, man, Randy got that down to the T. He looked exactly like Santa Claus.
All right. I used to ask this of Coach Crawford because it was, to me, it was the top topic in my mind. Who, and it can be more than one, who blew up this summer for the Hawks?
I think it's a number, kids. I think Honor, because Honor went from a great defender to a slasher, and then he went in the biggest tournament of the summer and shot 47% from the three-point line.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of these shots, because when you're on that level, you ain't getting a lot of open shots. Most of the shots you're getting, because you're playing against other great defenders, other great athletes, they're going to be contested. So, and he's worked on this a lot. He's put in a great deal of work with Bart, as you know. He's put in a great deal of work. Just working on this shot and being able to. But the key was he started creating off the dribble and creating his shot off the dribble. So I think that was surprising, but it proved when he was over in Europe and you playing in that, they were playing in that Euro Cup, and they were playing against guys that a couple of those guys signed 2-way contracts with the NBA two weeks after that deal on the European team. So they were playing against pros, and he stepped up and he demonstrated the stuff he had been working on in that situation. But I gotta say, probably, of course, Terrion was out 8 weeks, and for him to come back and do what he did off a high ankle sprain, because if you guys know the history, high ankle sprains are very difficult.
Yep.
Might as well break it.
Yeah, better to break it, probably.
Yeah. And he came back after 8 weeks and stepped up and got into a groove. but the thing about him, which is obvious, his best basketball is ahead. So I take my hat off to them guys in high school this year because they're gonna be dealing with a monster, dealing with him every night.
Yep.
But I would have to say probably Luke Moore probably made the biggest jump, and he's like Terry, he's a 2025 that was playing with 2024.
Yep.
And playing point guard, which is almost like quarterback position, is a very difficult position to play on that level because you're playing against guys it's some guys he played against that's 2 years away from the NBA.
Yep.
So when you're 16 and playing against 17, 18, and at times some 19-year-olds, I think he made the biggest jump, and I think he's going to be the biggest surprise. He walked away this summer with two more Division I offers from Old Dominion and Drake. So I think he probably made the biggest jump. But you see guys, and that's just our guys. I've seen guys all around the state that make huge jumps. I thought Isaiah Philly from Springdale, which is a guy that played for Mocan, I thought he made a huge jump this summer. I thought he's an excellent player. We love to keep him at home. We're trying to keep him at home and keep him going over there playing for Mocan. But I think he's the guy that made a huge jump, and it's going to be right at the top with all the top guys.
Yeah, and he got taller too, Bill. Don't you think? It seemed like he grew a couple inches.
I think he's a true 6'7". They got him listed 6'6", 6'5". He's a true 6'7". And it's just like Terrion. Some people got Terrion listed at 6'8". Terrion is closer to 6'10" now. That's all you got to do is stand beside him.
Yep. He's
closer to 6'10" now than 6'8". So these guys are still growing and developing. It's just amazing to watch the high school basketball here in the state of Arkansas.
So, Bill, I have to ask, because we talk a lot about the 24s because it's so talented, and we talk about the 25s, but can you talk quickly about the 26s and kind of what you see after? Because I know players like RJ, you have a real young roster that's extremely talented.
What that 26 class is loaded all the way across the state, and you got, of course, J.J. Andrews, you got Jacob Lanier, but right now you got to throw R.J. Young in that mix as well. He ended up earning a scholarship from offer from Ole Miss this summer. He did something that was remarkable in those championships. He's the first player that we've ever had in our program history. We've had some great programs, some great players in our history with Joe Johnson, with Ronnie Brewer, with Isaiah Joe. He scored 30 points 3 straight games in a row, and they were all close games. And we need all 30 of those points. In the last game, he scored 34. We need every one of those points to win the game. So it wasn't a situation where it was a blowout and guys just running up and down. But I think he has emerged, and you keep your eye out for him. He's at Bryan High School. He's going to be a great player. And there's a couple other guys that I don't want to go through and miss somebody's name. But there's quite a few other guys that's going to be good in that class as well. But you're going to see some great players in that 2026 class. I mean, they loaded with talent.
And Bill, just Randy, this is what's amazing. 1 year jump, Luke Moore, Terrion, 1 year jump is almost unheard of, Bill, right? To play on that level.
Right.
RJ and CB were actually doing that. You had them up 2 years. You just took them to Las Vegas.
I jumped them up from 15 to 17.
Holy smokes.
And the killing part about it, I had watched them play and watched them in practice, so it wasn't no doubt in my mind they could make the jump. I didn't even fret it. As soon as I jumped them up and we started playing, I inserted them in games immediately. RJ had one double-digit game. Think about it. He had a double-digit game this summer in a 17-year-old league game against the Under Armour Association shoe company team. So that's just you playing against the elite. I think he scored like 10 points, 6 rebounds, but it was a close game. So these guys are loaded and ready, and it's just the sky's the limit. I just see a lot of great basketball down the pipe for the state of Arkansas.
Bill, you were talking about Arkansas high school basketball. Oh, doggone it. In particular, I guess we better watch out then for the Little Rock Central Tigers. Might they be the favorite going in?
They should. Central should be really, really good because they also got Daniel Hubison, which has been offered by Air Force. He's a solid mid-major point guard that's really good. So they're loaded with talent
Bill,
and some other teams.
it's always great to have you. Hour number 2 of Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer on vacation. Should return back on Monday. Thanks to Bart Reed, who is setting in today. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. Coming up next, Trey Beatty of hogsports.com, being brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service Company. But first, let's talk to my man, Neil Atkinson, by way of Saracen. Neil, I loved it. I just wish I had been playing the flash bets. Ellie De La Cruz on the scoreboard in Milwaukee. Almost hit a home run in the first inning, but didn't.
Yep.
So the first pitch that you had on the flash bets was it 1,800?
Yeah, it was plus 1,800, and he went up there and got revenge on it. And and it was funny because I do believe they kind of taunted him on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And that's how he responded.
Yeah.
So you don't mess with the best when people can hit like that. So yeah, that's a little poetic justice right there. Hey, there's 2 more that's hit today that were pretty good. You had Jose Ramirez hit a solo home run earlier today with Cleveland, plus 1,200. That was about 3 hours ago. And earlier in one of the earlier games, Julio Rodriguez did a plus 2,900 to smack a home run at an at-bat. So, I mean, that's his 3rd home run in 24 hours. So Julio is really, really Rodriguez with the Seattle is really on fire right now. You could make a lot of money if you bet on him, the homer on the flash bet.
All right, what I'm looking at right now, this is MLB trade deadline specials. Oh, you're mean to do this one. MLB trade deadline special. Where will Ohtani play after the 23 deadline? Angels are the favorites, minus 200. I scroll to the very bottom. There are 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams. The Chicago White Sox, Kansas City Royals, Oakland A's, Pittsburgh Pirates, Washington Nationals, all at plus 25,000.
Yeah, those are big lawn odds. I think they're pretty much dialed in on this one. Although I would love to see him go to the Seattle Mariners because if there's some recovery, he could wind up here in Little Rock at some point.
Yeah.
And not to mention, don't forget, we got the Naturals and the Travelers playing in Little Rock tonight. So we've got that up too. Starts at 6:35. Travelers at home favored minus 150 on the money line. So we've even got that for you today. And of course, FIFA Women's World Cup tonight. Netherlands is going to be a much
more difficult,
tougher match for them tonight. So we've still got that to go and a bunch of specials around that. Of course, everybody's rooting for Team USA.
So Neil,
okay. I'm sorry about that, Mark.
You're okay. So Neil, you're a wealth of knowledge, and you have all this. Anytime's a great time to bet if you love the sports. What's your favorite time of the year for betting? If you're looking at college or professional.
I'm looking at college football is my thing. I mean, I grew up with college football. I listened to it to the radio. And I'm from Tennessee. Went to Tennessee. I mean, I knew John Ward and listened to college on the radio. And maybe at the country club there may have been a little bookie with parlay cards. I don't know, but that's I love college football. It's my favorite, and I just can't wait for it to start. I like it better than the pros, but anyway, that's my favorite, and I can't wait to see how flash bets do on football. And we're gearing up and getting ready for that.
There you go. Only at Bet Saracen, betsaracen.com, or get the app. Thank you, Neil. We will talk.
Thanks, Neil.
Tomorrow. That is Neil Atkinson by way of Saracen.
Now to Trey Beatty, brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service, 501-562-2293. Family owned and operated since 1980. Asher Wrecker, dependable towing and vehicle recovery service. Ask for Asher.
Good afternoon, Trey.
Sheridan takeover.
Sheridan takeover.
That's right.
Part 2.
Yep.
So I'm gathering, y'all know each other?
Absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Art and I've known each other since.
We have the Sheridan legend.
Yep. 1996, 1997.
Yep.
Same high school.
That's right.
Man, that is, I didn't realize I was creating Homecoming part 2 here today. I read an article today and I found it was called on The Athletic, the SEC mailbag. And it said, which assistants will be on the radar for head coaching jobs in 2024? And they've got them broken down into different tiers. And what I mean by that, Trey, they've got high or mid-level Power 5 job, mid-level Power 5 or group of 5, lower level Power 5 or group of 5. And of all these categories, I did not see Dan Enos, his name, one time.
You know, Dan Enos in his introductory press conference kind of indicated that he felt he was a better coordinator than coach.
Really?
Yeah, than head coach. Yeah. So he did leave a head coaching job to come to Arkansas, if you remember.
Yes.
The first time around. So I'm sure somebody offers him $3 million or something. That might be hard for him to turn down. But he did kind of indicate that he thinks he's kind of more cut out to be a coordinator.
Well, Glenn Schumann of Georgia, he is the co-defensive coordinator. He's in the high or mid-level Power 5 jobs, mid-level Power 5 or group of 5. Brad White from Kentucky, he's a defensive coordinator. Blake Baker, who is Missouri's defensive coordinator. And then Matt House, LSU's defensive coordinator. Then you get the low-level Power 5 or group of 5. Tim Banks, who is Tennessee's defensive coordinator. Tommy Reeves, which is Alabama's offensive coordinator. Boy, get this group. Bobby Petrino, Will Muschamp, Mike Bobo, Philip Montgomery, or Kevin Steele. All those are former head coaches. And they've got them at lower level Power 5 or group of 5.
Don't Muschamp's getting another shot.
Yeah.
And with basketball, the basketball is the same way as football. I think SEC football has been so dominant. Trey, would you not agree? Because coaching, where great coaches go, great players go. And I think that's why we've seen this rise in SEC basketball, certainly getting 8 in the tournament last year. But I think it's a lot of it's coaching, because you've seen it all over the board. Every coach in the SEC can just flat coach.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this conference draws – Nick Saban's not from this area. Brian Kelly's not from this area. It draws coach. Eric Musselman's not from this area. Yeah. The elite talent is in the Southeast. It just is. It always has been. And that's where, it's just kind of a snowball effect. This is where the talent is. Well, that's going to draw the coaches in and, the fan support, the amount of money that, the Southeast is not, compared to a lot of the other parts of the country, it's not a rich area, but they contribute to the college football and college basketball programs. And that's just a snowball effect.
All right, Trey, this is from our Asher Wrecker Service Company live fan feedback. Larry says, Trey, what's the story about the Harding Academy recruit? I think he's a linebacker. The guy went from not even being a recruit to being offered by almost every Power 5 program in the country. What's his story, and does Arkansas have a chance?
Yeah, Arkansas has a chance. I think they're in good shape with him. I'm not ready to call it or anything because I don't really know Wyatt's story. He's just not one of those guys that's interested in talking. I mean, Danny's reached out to him, I think, a couple times and, just kind of respectfully declined. And, you got to appreciate when somebody does that. Traylon Burks was kind of the same way. Just didn't want to really talk. Wyatt maybe even more like that. But that's just kind of the approach he's taken. It's not like he just, people said he wasn't good enough and then suddenly he's a recruit. It's people just didn't really know a lot about him. And then, suddenly, the tape starts getting out and, the huddle starts getting out and, it opens a lot of people's eyes. And so, it doesn't take long to turn on, go to huddle and watch his video to realize, this guy's got a chance to be really big time. I think he has a chance to move up to be a 4-star. It's just that you got to come get a look at him, in person. Our guys aren't our guys aren't ones to just rank somebody a 4-star without seeing them, without getting verified, track or 40 numbers and stuff like that. Otherwise, I think he'd be that right now. But again, I don't know, but I honestly think he probably just doesn't really care. He just wants to go to college, I would assume.
Well, it's interesting because once that huddle tape was out, Southern Cal, Clemson, Ohio State all flew in to Searcy, Arkansas to look at this young man up close.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like Trey, and obviously you have far more expertise in this than the rest of us do, but once you get that first big domino to fall, does it not seem like all of a sudden, I mean, he just blew up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was Southern Cal or if it was Ohio State or whoever it was, but whoever made that first official offer, then all of a sudden Clemson jumps in, Oklahoma jumps in, Arkansas I mean, it's like a landslide all of a sudden.
No, there's no question that coaches see that, and these coaches are also, they know each other a lot of times.
Sure.
They know if Sam Pittman makes a call on an offensive lineman getting an offer, then that means something, and these coaches know that. So that's one way it happens. Absolutely. No question that there is, kind of a follow me type of deal when it comes to scholarship offers. You just pick up momentum like that, but I'm not sure who the first was to offer. I could probably look and find out, but when it happened, they just flowed in.
So Trey, we're seeing this explosion with basketball in the state of Arkansas, just the number of Division I players, but Power 5 Division I players. You played the game at a high level. You're seeing it right now. What is football experiencing the same thing for the state of Arkansas, for the average high school football? What do you think? What's your opinion?
Well, this is a good year. This is a good year inside the state, but last year wasn't that great a year. I just think it's cyclical. I don't know what it is about basketball in this state, but this state produces way above what it should. In terms of per capita, I mean, it's got to be among the very elite states in the country in terms of producing basketball talent. This is a really good year for football. Last year wasn't that good. It's just kind of cyclical for some reason in football. And, you look at Arkansas, there's 3 million people here. There's 3 million people in Mississippi.
Yep.
Mississippi way outproduces, it's not even close to how much more talent Mississippi produces than the state of Arkansas does. So I think it's just one of those years, it just happens to be one of those years. 2019 was a really great year inside the state. And that's just kind of how it goes. A lot of it, you talk to some AAU coaches, they'll tell you that there's a lot of kids playing basketball who are good basketball players, but if they played football, they'd be Division I,
That's true.
prospects. So, like a 6'3" guard, he's probably really good, at, wherever he's playing in high school in Arkansas or AAU, but, maybe a, mid-major type talent, so, but whereas, he might be an NFL wide receiver one day, but he's playing basketball.
Trey, you had one right here in Central Arkansas last year, Nico Devier.
Yeah.
He was an excellent basketball player, but he's also a heck of a defensive end. And he went the football route, not the basketball route. He may not have had the same opportunities in basketball, but nevertheless, he was a very, very good basketball player.
Yeah. Nico be like a 6'4", 6'5" post player kind of type. I mean, he's also, he's probably 250, 260 or so in high school. So
I would call him an enforcer last year.
Yeah.
I mean, he played around the basket, and you really didn't want to go inside against Nico. He would not back down.
Mm-hmm.
Trey, I've been wanting to ask this. I've heard you say it many times before, but I don't know that there's ever been a actual research, get the data, give the reasons why. You were saying per capita with the same population basically between Arkansas and Mississippi. If Mississippi is outproducing Arkansas, what do you say, 2-1? What are the factors? What are the reasons? Why is not Arkansas trying to copy then the state of Mississippi? Is it just the fact that the talent is just better regardless of whatever
The
study
talent,
that you
the
could do.
talent's just the talent's just better.
Okay,
Just different demographics.
just that simple.
But Trey, do you think let's say early intervention, when players start playing really young, which you're seeing that Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, where they're playing tackle football so young, do you think that has anything to do with it? Because we're still seeing a lot of kids that are not playing tackle till junior high in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much or make anything about race or anything like that, but there's just a different demographic in Mississippi versus Arkansas, and that plays part of the role.
Well, I've always wondered, I mean, when you look at some of the Texas players, and they were saying the way that they are being developed, you usually can still find the athlete who's still got upside left. But in many of the so-called quality players in Texas, because of early development, they're already done by the time they reach the senior high level. And you've got to continue to have that growth as you get to the collegiate level, because you're probably not going to be good enough as a senior in high school as what you're going to be, obviously, what you could be in college. So you can say in some cases, some have overdone it on the other hand.
Absolutely. That's what Lewis used to tell me. Lewis, when he was recruiting Texas, he'd say, listen, some of these kids are so coached up. They're at their ceiling right now. They're as good as they're going to be. Coach Campbell. Lewis Campbell's my uncle and coached at Arkansas defensive backs for a long time. And so, that was the standard in Texas. And of course, everybody redshirt. So the kids are older anyway. And certainly you have to factor that in.
All right, let's get Ro on. Ro, good afternoon. You have a question or comment for Trey?
Yeah, actually, I'm calling in to help Trey out. And when I say it's something that Trey wouldn't say, but it's the truth, and it is what it is. All of your freak athletes, your best athletes, if you look where they come from Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Virginia, Georgia, the Carolinas, and places like that. Am I correct? That's where most of them come from. Am I correct?
Yep.
There's a pretty good running back out of Philadelphia, Mississippi by the name of Marcus Dupree.
Exactly. Now, let's take a history lesson. We know there were practices that went on back in the 1700s and 1800s that would yield a bigger worker. I'm trying to say this without, making a lot of people uncomfortable.
Sure.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. So, but you go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just tell you, it's slave port. That's where your freak athletes come from. Arkansas doesn't touch water like that. That's a slave port. So you don't have those freak athletes like you'll have in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, like I said earlier, Virginia. That's why all the slave ports were. That's why all your big, crazy, freakish athletes are, even to this day, because those roots still run deep in those areas. So you were asking that question, and I knew Trey, being the good guy that he is, he's not going to go in depth and tell you what it is, but that's what it is. And I just wanted to call in and say it.
But
Ro, thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Ro, the interesting thing is we have them in basketball, but not in football. And so the numbers say, because we have the freak athletes in basketball. So the question is, why do we not have those in football?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bart. Part of it could be, something to do with, just the, culture of how these kids are brought up, the sports they're brought up playing. And, there's fewer basketball players that are required on a roster, obviously,
Sure.
13 in college versus, 85 scholarship players in football. That could also be part of it as well.
Well, there's only takes 5. It really only takes 2. You play one-on-one in basketball. You need at least 6 or 7 or 8 on each side to have a decent baseball game in the sandlot. How many does it take to have a fun game of sandlot football? Do you need 6 or 7 again there? So
more than 2.
More than 2, yeah. So I can see where basketball definitely benefits from the fact that, I can throw old rim up there on top of the side of the wall, start shooting away. Let's talk to Brett. Brett, good afternoon. You got a question or comment for Trey?
Yes, sir, I do. And maybe I didn't hear all your conversations, so you guys maybe have already covered this. I know you're talking about what Arkansas produces in terms of D1 football. My question is, seems to be back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, A lot of Razorback players came from Little Rock.
Sure.
The Little Rock Public
Central,
Schools.
Little Rock
And
Parkview.
it seems kind of as those programs have struggled, Arkansas, I think that's a direct impact on the University of Arkansas on the
Absolutely.
athletes out of Little Rock.
Absolutely. And you're seeing the numbers that are being produced. Parkview won last year's, was it 5A state championship? And they produced, 4, I believe. Joyner, the quarterback who turned wide receiver. Anyway, there were 3 or 4 guys who got D1 tickets last year from Parkview. And I think you'll probably see 3 or 4. They've got, what would you say, Trey, one of the better all-around athletes in the state that's at Parkview right now. So, yeah, it's always been said, Brett, you need Central Arkansas to be good in football. It produces great Razorback teams. Thank you, Brett. Wow, Trey, we blew through this one today. All right,
Sure
buddy.
Trey, thanks,
Okay.
buddy.
Yeah,
I
talk to
love
you guys
getting
later.
Sheridan Yellow Jackets in the studio
That's right.
and on the line.
Go Jackets.
See you,
There
Trey.
you go. Trey Biddy of hogsports.com. Drive Time Sports will continue. Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Bart Reed, Pure Sweat Basketball Skills, Hoop 5. I'm Randy Rainwater. In a moment, we're going to visit with Coach Jerry Evans, and we have a special treat, and I'll hold that for just one moment because I will give you a hint. It's a she. She is an All-American. First, I want to talk to you about the Riverfront Steakhouse in North Little Rock. Dollar for dollar, item for item, you're not going to find a better deal. But here's the thing. It's one thing to have a great deal, but if you don't have great food, who cares? You're going to get fantastic food. If you have not ever gone through the Riverfront Salad Bar, shame on you because you're missing the best salad bar, I'll say in North America. Okay, how about that? And then you're going to get to pick from not one, but 2 entrees. So whether it is the grilled chicken breast 10 ounce, I prefer blackened, or 6 of the jumbo shrimp, fried or scampi. Now imagine, Bart, right here where my wrist is, right there at the tip of my finger, that's how big that is. Yeah, okay, I got your microphone on, so you can't say yes. And then you got the penne pasta carbonara. That is fantastic. So 3 delicious, mouth-watering entrees. Then you get to pick from 2 side items, baked potato, mashed potatoes. You got to try the onion rings. And then you got the spinach supreme. How much, you ask? I said it in the beginning, $36. That's it. That is the Thursday Night Chef Special, Riverfront Hotel, Wyndham Hotel in North Little Rock, 371-9000. Ask for William or Shapur. Tell them I sent you, and you're going to get the treat of your life.
Me and you are going tomorrow.
Let's
after
do
the
it.
show.
Let's do it. Especially if you're paying, you're buying. $36, I think you can afford it.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, joined now by Coach Jerry Evans, state champion coach, the Cersei Lions. And Jerry, you've got an All-American with you.
We do. We have an All-American. We just got back from Fargo, North Dakota. We were just at the largest wrestling tournament in the world, which had about 6,645
Holy
participants
cow.
from 47 states, including Puerto Rico. There's over 13,000 matches on 30 mats during this tournament.
Holy smoke. Now, how many days?
This is over a 10-day period.
10-day
from the time
period.
the girls come in and weigh in all the way until the last match of Greco for the boys.
Now, Elena, she wins her division. Elena, how many did you have to, in that length of time, how many did you have to wrestle and then win?
Well, I wrestled, I think I had 64 girls in my bracket. I lost to a Cali girl my very first match, actually. And then I had to win 6 more in a row to even place. And for 7th and 8th, the girl I lost against, I beat her. So it was like a little rematch.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Now, this is where the weight division begins, correct, Jerry?
Correct.
106 pounds.
Right. Well, up there, it's actually 100 pounds is the lowest weight class.
100 pounds. Okay.
Yeah. And then Elena's in the 117 weight class. So, she came out and was on match number 1 on the big stage, very first match of the day. And such a huge arena and a huge event. And came a little short on that first match, but to be able to come back from that defeat, win 6 in a row, just to come back to All-American, and then win another one on top of that to even play 7th, it's pretty wild.
So is it, if she loses another one after that, is she done?
She's done.
So that's incredible, just from an athlete perspective. You think knowing that you're out if you lose another one helped you? Because you're going all out?
It definitely gave me a lot of motivation to keep going.
Now, there's Greco style of wrestling. What other styles, Jerry, is involved?
So at this tournament, it was freestyle for the girls,
Okay.
and then boys also had freestyle, and then boys also had Greco.
Okay.
On the high school side, which we do in the fall, and we won our state championship with, that is folk style wrestling.
What is that?
Well, it's
I've never heard of that.
same style that college athletes wrestle
Okay.
for boys.
Okay.
but what we did this summer is freestyle for the girls, which is Olympic wrestling, and Greco is also
Gotcha.
another form of Olympic wrestling.
So, Elena, how long do these matches typically last?
Well, these matches are 2-minute periods, so you have 2 of them, so 4 minutes in total. It just depends, though.
I've told this story, Jerry, before on the air. Flav decided he wanted to go out for wrestling. Now, this is an all-conference lineman, Bart. He's about 6'3", about 245, 250. And he came home after about 2 days, and he said, I had to tell Coach Evans I quit. It was too hard. He was wearing him out.
It was, and I was so excited he was going to be there. I'm like, man, we got a great athlete coming in. And we're a couple of days into pretty tough conditioning, and it's a lot different than football. And it's a lot different than baseball. And he says, Coach, I just don't think this is for me. So I understand. It's not for everyone.
So, Coach Evans, so I married a Missouri girl, and obviously up there wrestling is huge. And, there was some Nebraska across it. So that's such a big sport in the Midwest. How is Arkansas kind of adapted? Are we getting to where wrestling is as big as the Midwest?
Well, we're not winning national championships yet,
Right.
but since we have started wrestling 16 years ago in Arkansas, we brought 75 kids this year to Fargo. We had 21 girls, we had 54 guys, 4 team leaders, 10 coaches, and 75 puts us right in the middle of the entire nation. You have some schools or some states that brought 200 kids, but you had some that brought 3. A lot of schools brought less than 20. So 75 kids puts us right in the middle, and we're growing every year.
So is this kind of like an all-star team that you put together, that you had tryouts, I assume, and you had to qualify in some regard? So what was the process, Jerry, that went into putting these 75 athletes together?
Our first qualifier is our freestyle state, which is after our high school season. We have a tournament. This year was in Rogers, and you had to be top 4 in your classification to qualify. If you don't make that qualification, you can go to regional qualifiers, one being in Kansas, another one being in Oklahoma or Texas. I can't remember. But if you place in the top 8 in those, then you would also qualify. And so that was our first step, is to qualify those kids by these tournaments.
All right, Elena, I want to go back to this opening competition that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Go through your emotions as you're getting ready to step into that on the mat. You don't get into a ring, but you get on a mat.
Well, like Coach Evans said, I was on mat 1, the big stage, where you're just elevated, and my nerves were just all over the place. And then after I lost that one, I was just like, okay, I need to focus up. I need to just relax and wrestle like I wrestle in the wrestling room.
So do you have like this clock, this timer in your head? You're saying 2 minutes or 4 minutes total. Do you have like a timer in your head, knowing I've got to accomplish such and such? Because I'm guessing without a pin, it's now going to be points that ends up making the difference.
Mm-hmm. No, not really. I mean, I just go out there and be aggressive, and I just...
Well, the reason why I ask you that is because in a lot of the boxing matches, with 10 seconds, they'll ring a bell.
Yeah.
So the boxer knows I got 10 more seconds. Some cases I got to survive for 10 more seconds. Some cases I got to win the next 10 seconds. But I guess from a focus standpoint, you're honing in on your strengths and what you need to do in order to either gain the point or maybe possibly even the pin.
Yeah. I mean, usually when I go out there, I don't really look at the time. I'm trying to get points. Like, don't we have a 30-second break, right? In between the matches.
We do.
And I'll look at my score and I'll be like, okay, what do I need to do to tech her? Because you can, in freestyle, 10 points is a tech. And, or pin. You can always pin. And so I'll look at my points and I'll be like, okay, what do I need to do to finish the match or get up on points or whatever?
And it's funny you guys are talking about this. Her last match, she is down by 2 points with 10 seconds left. And as coaches, we're letting her know, hey, it's 10 seconds. You got to do something. 4 seconds left on the clock. She goes head and arm, grabs the girl by her head and arm, throws her to her back for a 4-point move.
Wow.
Oh,
as
wow.
the time runs off the clock to get 7th point. So,
Wow.
Wow, how cool. So do you have all these great wrestlers that I watch on TBS and so forth? Okay, that's not real
Yeah,
wrestling.
that's
So do you have a signature move though? Do you have a favorite move that you rely upon?
My blast double.
What is that?
Basically kind of like
it's like a football tackle.
it's kind of like a football tackle.
And you're trying to get them on their back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just blast them off their feet.
wow.
So do you get many in headlocks and as you're down there, maybe a leg lock or something, and where they want to pat down, and it's not like that, is it? Right?
No.
Oh God!
So,
Trying
I
to add
gotta
some
ask.
excitement here.
No, this is interesting. So I'm a trainer, so how much, because you always see it with
Mhm.
boxing and wrestling.
Yeah.
How much of it is dedication to training like outside the ring, right? Because you have to make weight.
hmm
You have to. So like, what's that process like?
So basically, it just depends if I'm cutting or not.
Okay.
So I do a diet, so I don't have to just do an extreme cut.
Yep.
I always diet like a month before. I'm in the wrestling room a lot. Like we have summer practices now. I'll go from we have 2-hour practices, right? 2-hour practices, and then maybe like 3 or 4 hours later, I'll go to Little Rock practice at Coach Pat's place, and I'll do practice there.
So what's the most drastic thing you've done to make weight? Like, have you ever had to lose like 8 pounds in a night or put on?
No,
Okay.
that stresses me out. I can't do that.
Okay.
No.
But it happens.
Right. And we try to stay away from that as coaches. We try to do everything the healthy way. Do people do that sometimes? I'm sure they do, but that's not the way we want to do
Right.
things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, when Flake put up the white flag, what? I'm trying to be nice, but I never could get out of him. What was so strenuous? What are some of the disciplines that you put him through, Jerry?
Well, in a normal practice, we're going to go on the mat. We're going to work technique.
Oh, hold on. There's the music. You'll learn that in our business. That means we're going to take a break.
You bet.
So whether you want to or not, you got to step aside for a moment. All right. That's Bart Reed, our All-American, Elena Williams, Coach Jerry. We're just going to call him Coach Jerry Evans. I'm Randy Rainwater, Bart Reed, Drive Time Sports. We'll continue in just one moment. Drive Time Sports here on the Buzz Radio Network. As Arkansas's community bank, First Security helps people make life better for themselves and for other Arkansans. They focus on helping make our communities stronger. Every dollar that stays in the community helps the community through things like new homes and businesses, so other people can have better lives. If you want your banking dollar to do more good, check out First Security at fsbank.com. That's First Security Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, only in Arkansas. That's First Security Bank. We are joined by Bart Reed, but we also have some very special guests in the studio. Jerry Evans from the State Championship Wrestling Cersei Lions, and the All-American Elena Williams, which again, we say congratulations for that tremendous accomplishment. You were talking, Jerry, right before we had to go to the break, and we do need breaks in order to sell the program. But you were talking about the disciplines you go through, the conditioning that you go through, but then you also talked about, as we were talking during the break, about the different phases that you go through. I know you have to go through the conditioning, you have to go through the weight room and so forth and so on. But let's go back to the disciplines of what you do from a conditioning standpoint.
Sure. Normal practice, like I said, it was we'll start off a little technique and then build into a situational where, kind of amps up a little bit. They know exactly where they're going to be standing or, in a referee's position. Then we'll go into a phase of live wrestling during practice, which is go, full-on matches and could last anywhere from 1 minute to 3 minutes. Once we're done with the live wrestling, most of the kids are already tired, but that's when we go into our actual conditioning, which our conditioning changes every day. Some days it may be time sprints. Some days it may be sustained running or interval sprints. Could be jumps and crawls. I mean, every day it changes so that their body has to adapt to, all those changing events.
So when you're talking about the weight room, do you work on different core areas or specific core areas? I would think obviously the biceps, the arms, the chest, and then especially the legs. I would think the legs would be a very critical component.
We do. For us, our 3 core lifts are our bench press, our squat, and our deadlift. Those are everyday things for us. And then we'll come in with some bench press. We do a lot of pull-ups, a lot of core exercises. So
you talked about, and you said it, so 75 athletes went to Fargo.
They did.
Obviously you want that to grow. What grows the sport? Is it kids training early? Is it awareness of wrestling? Like, what pushes us to a growth where we're like in Iowa or Minnesota?
It's going to be awareness. We found over the last couple of years after joining the national team as coaches that these kids just didn't know how to be a part of it. And it's not only coaching these kids, but it's also teaching the other coaches in the state, hey, get your kids involved in this. This is how you do it. And when we reach out to, all parts of the state, we want those best athletes to be there. By being there, they get noticed by these college coaches, by world-class athlete programs, things like that.
Yeah. So what's the next step for All-American?
Trying to win it next year. I mean, I've reached my goal in placing this year. I fell short last year, I think in the round before the blood round, and this year I placed. So next year I'm gonna try to win it.
So what have you got to do different to win it than what you did this year? What have you got to improve on, Elena?
Mindset, definitely mindset.
Interesting.
Because that first match, the nerves, and I'm just like, big stage, I have to just block all that out and just go out there and just.
How did it work out, Jerry, that Elena got that number 1 position to begin with?
Luck of the draw.
It
was. It's just the way the mat assignments rolled out, and she was a ranked wrestler going in, coming into the tournament number 23 in the nation, I believe. And so, they want to put some of the brightest stars on stage right away, and she got that lucky draw.
Wow.
So is there a college?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So are there scholarship opportunities, Jerry?
Every one of our senior girls, Arkansas has had 4 years of girls wrestling now. Every senior girl that has come through has been offered a college scholarship after they've left my program. So the college scholarships are there right now. If they want to wrestle in college, they have an opportunity.
You had a young man a couple of years ago. He played football. I'm not sure if he was in Reed's class or not, but I'm surprised he's not wrestling at the next level. And I've gone brain dead. But I think he was in the heavyweight division.
Probably Demasio Whittier.
That's it.
There you go.
That's him.
And he did wrestle. He did go his freshman year, and he did
gosh.
wrestle. And actually, he ended up ranked his freshman year, like 13th in the nation, and had some minor injuries, and just had to step away from the sport. And so, yeah, we get to see him every once in a while.
Oh my gosh.
Great
That
athlete.
is a waste. That is a waste. I mean, he was 6'2", Jerry, 6'2", 6'3", about 265, chiseled. And you didn't want to face him on the football field, and I would have been afraid to face him on the mat.
Yeah, he went undefeated his senior year. He's a 2-time state champion, 1-time runner-up. All 4 years were all-state wrestler.
I think our state owes Greg Hatcher a tremendous
Absolutely.
amount of credit. I'm not saying a monument, but this is the guy basically who introduced wrestling to the state of Arkansas.
Absolutely. And yeah, in all sports, but definitely in wrestling, we wouldn't have wrestling in Arkansas if it wasn't for him. Coming in, pushing it through the AAA to get it sanctioned, going to each school saying, hey, if you do this, we'll provide a mat. You know, that's the biggest cost in wrestling, is getting that first mat. And for him to come and do that, to set us up for, you know, success, to be there, to set up the state tournament every year, to make sure that we're progressing the way that we should, getting regionals this year for the first time in Arkansas. He's got his hand in all of that, and we can't thank him enough.
So I'm a ULR alum.
Mhm.
I've heard they have fantastic wrestling facilities.
Absolutely. It's a Division I program.
Yeah.
It's, you know, he's gone in there and provided all of their needs and brought in a tremendous coach, and Coach Harrisman. I mean, he's done wonders for the state.
That is fantastic. All right, so what subjects are of interest to you, Elena?
Like,
History, math, science?
math and science mostly, yeah.
My favorite was study hall. Then second was PE or extracurricular activities. None of the above, as I listed you, did I really care about, and that's bad upon my part.
How much film do you watch? Is film an
Yeah,
important
that's a great
aspect?
question.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know your opponent in her favorite moves,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're trying to counter what she's
Oh, yeah.
best at,
Mm-hmm.
but then she's watched film on you,
Yep.
so she's trying to counter your best moves.
Yep.
So how much of it, if you're talking about a 2 or 3 minute round, how much of that is I call it cat and mouse, where you're filling each other out, trying to get an idea how you want to attack your opponent?
Honestly, the first 30 seconds, you'll feel like if they're aggressive, if they're not aggressive, if they're defensive or offensive. You'll feel that in the first 30 seconds to a minute.
So
Maybe.
neither one of those, if they're passive, or I say passive, but
Yeah.
they're not aggressive, do you pounce?
Oh, yeah. Like right when that whistle blows, heavy hands.
Now, what do you mean by heavy hands?
Like,
She's going to be clubbing, pulling down on the head, trying to snap her opponent to the ground without actually having to shoot on them.
yeah.
Can different styles win? So if you're a defensive wrestler versus an aggressive, do those styles win? Is it just a preference?
Well, at Fargo, one of the neatest stats that we saw is that 90% of the people that scored the first points in the match won the match.
Okay.
So the
aggression.
aggressive
Wow.
attacking wrestler most of the time was successful.
Yep.
Oh, there's analytics at work again.
Yep. Numbers.
Jerry, thank you, my friend. Congratulations on the success you've had. Elena, we want to talk to you next year as the champion,
Yeah.
not just as an All-American,
Yes.
but the champion. Okay. All right. Thank you. Elena Williams of Searcy. Drop Time Sports, hour number 3, straight ahead. Hour number 3 of Drive Time Sports here on the Buzz Radio Network. Thanks to Bart Reed. Stepping in today, Rick Schaeffer on vacation. I'm Randy Rainwater. We're from the capital city. And I got to tell you, Bart, that was fascinating.
Oh, very.
Are you moving around on me?
I'm moving.
I think I've now got you on a.
I'm out of the TV.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, let's try this one. Okay. Now talk.
Fascinating.
Okay. Got you back.
And you see what just the growth in the sport, because I would have not thought we would have sent 75 athletes to Fargo.
Yeah.
So it is. And it goes back to what we're saying. The younger you start, basketball, football, I'm telling you, the younger you start, the more you learn, the faster you build skill, the more successful you are.
I mean, this young lady is 106 pounds, but I'm guaranteeing you neither one of us want to tangle with her.
Look at her shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jerry Evans. Thanks, Elena, for coming down. And we want her next year to be in the studio at this time as a national champion. So all is well. That thanks again to Greg Hatcher, who has really helped put the sport on the map in our great state. Now, I've got to I failed to do this earlier, so I got to do it now. Our countdown to kickoff. It's August the 1st. It's going to be at the Hall, and it is fee-free on Friday, which means you get your ticket and you won't have to pay a fee. So that's why it's fee-free Friday. And here are just some what we believe will be on hand. Zach Williams, Eric Gregory, Andrew Chambly, and Hudson Clark. Then from former Razorbacks, Tyler Wilson, DJ Williams, Travis Swanson, Ricky Williams, Hayden Henry, and I'm sure, knowing Justin, he's got a few more that's up his sleeve that we have yet to hear about. So be sure, by the way, I want to say a big thank you to my friend, former teammate. We played softball together for I don't know how many years, Gary Hill with MSS Oil, and then Tito's Handmade Vodka, Gangster Museum of Arkansas, Oaklawn Sports, Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, Party Time Rental and Events, and the latest to come on board is Ortho Arkansas. So it's going to be a great night, great evening, and obviously we're going to talk a lot of football. So be there. Countdown to kickoff, August 1st. The Hall should start around 5:45. Should be done by 9 o'clock to get you home in plenty of time. And I left out maybe the most important. If I didn't say it, I'll say it again. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue.
You've got me hungry. You're killing me.
Yeah, Corky's Ribs and Barbecue. They put a spread out bar. I started the first, and I believe I don't want to insult any one item, so I just make sure I get something of everything.
Yeah,
that way, my plate is rather full. But I mean, this is a fun deal. I get to talk about. I think we get about a minute, so we all have to slam the information. I got Florida International, so
wow.
I'm looking forward.
So you have to be prepared.
Yeah. Minute's worth. It's surprise. We were talking a minute ago with Elena, and I'm thinking to myself, or even Jerry was saying, 3-minute rounds and then 2-minute rounds. And I'm thinking, that's no big deal. I could knock that out easy.
That's a long time with somebody's hands on you, trying to pull your neck down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And nonstop action. I mean, it is nonstop action.
I can't believe she lost the first match on a big stage, knowing the next one sends her home. And how many? 7, 6 after that?
Yeah, anyway. 7. I think 7 more matches. Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's incredible. All right. This from our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. Kevin says, Bart, you think an honor goes to Arkansas. Where is he leaning, and what will he do on his visit?
Well, it's a 2-day visit. So he comes in Thursday morning and he leaves Friday at 5 o'clock. So what you would kind of normally expect from a visit, there's show and tell. He's going to see the facilities. I don't know if they'll have practice. That would be a good question to ask Coach Muss. But certainly tour the facilities. There'll be a dinner Thursday night, and that's where they kind of get to know everybody. And so it's going to be a full sales presentation. They want Honor Boateng, I think, in my opinion, and Kevin McPherson and I talked about this the other day. The 6'4" to 6'6" athletes, 6'7" athletes that come up to the university under Coach Musselman are extremely successful. They play both ends. Honor is a prototype lockdown defender. And with what he's done on his offense, I think he's a star at Arkansas. So they're going to roll out the red carpet. I obviously think I know Arkansas is in the top 3. And listen, I think it's probably anytime you're an Arkansas kid, it's Arkansas's race to lose, in my opinion, with the success that the Razorbacks have had. And not only winning team success, but also taking players to the next level. I know Honor wants to go to the next level. His talents are there. So that's attractive to him. So certainly I think Arkansas is right there in the mix.
So when you talk about a player like Honor, are they going to go through, as I understand, where they've got film of this individual, and they're going to break that film down with Honor and say, this is your strengths, but this is also the areas you need to work on. Do you think they would do something like that with Honor?
I think so. And listen, if Honor's doing his job as a prospective student athlete, Honor's asking those questions. Where do I fit in? What's my role here? And I think that's a big piece of what the players now are starting to see. It's not just where you go. It's, does that system fit? And so I think Honor, being a really great student, is going to ask those questions. And yes, it's they'll have film. As we know, Coach Musselman's a big analytics guy. I think he'll be able to tell exactly where Honor fits in, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. And Honor's dedicated himself a lot. Bill Ingram talked about it. His shooting was one of his question marks 4 years ago. And then his ball handling. And we went to work on certain things, but Honor went to work on his own. And so a testament to him and his dedication to the game.
All right. So if you're giving an analytical breakdown yourself, what is Honor's strengths and what does he need to work on?
Well, I think he's the best player I've ever seen at that age, finishing through contact because of his strength. And that goes back to his size, but also his strength. So I certainly think his first step explosion, getting in the lane and finishing through contact, would be the first two. His defense, isolation defense, one-on-one situations, is fantastic. It's as good as you will ever see on a lockdown college level. I think those are his top 3 strengths. But the weaknesses that he's had, which was shooting, is certainly shooting at 47% in Las Vegas. Any coach is going to say
that's amazing.
It's amazing, especially contested shots. So I think his 3 strengths are getting in the lane, dribble penetration, finishing through contact, and on the defensive end.
Is he best as a 2, as a 3? I know a lot of this now is getting positionless.
Yep.
But in the old style, we're 1 through 5 oriented.
Yep.
You see him as a 2, as a 3?
I see him as a 2. I really do. I see him as a 2, but his ultimate value is because of his size, he can guard a 3. And I even think in select scenarios, he could even guard a 4 if it's a smaller 4, especially if it's positionless. But I see him more as a 2, especially with the work that he's done on his jump shot, catch and shoot specifically. So I think he's more of a 2.
All right. We just finished up with a very interesting segment that was concerning wrestling and so forth. So on, you've got a special athlete that's in your household. How do you see Lily utilizing and being able to capitalize on all of the things we just learned a few moments ago from the art of wrestling?
Well, certainly if you're looking at transferring skill, going into contact and being physical now is much a part of basketball as anything else. So it's all about balance, being aware of your body, and what I would call functional strength, which is sport specific strength, not just going in the weight room and bench pressing 300 pounds. because there's a lot of those guys that are not strong on the court. So learning your body, learning your core, be able to change your levels. Coach was talking about how wrestlers change levels really good. That's one of the things you talk about ball handling, high to low to slow to fast. So I think all that stuff transfers in the girls' game. If you can be explosive or strong, those two things, along with being skilled, are really great traits to have. And Lily she's very fortunate. She's explosive and strong.
So is the true art of being tough, but being within the parameters of the game. I mean, you don't want to be dirty, but I'm talking about being tough. Is that becoming almost a lost art into itself, Bart? You know, you were talking about it this was during the break, but you were talking about you were amazed how many of the players today don't like contact.
They don't like it.
And isn't that from the core strength, and some of it also could be mental toughness.
Yep. And I think mental toughness also, because I call it dog, just being a dog.
Being a dog. Yep.
There's no stat for it, but you feel it every time you're on the court, you watch it. And there's always one or two of those guys. I think it's the way you're brought up. We played a lot of outdoor basketball. The game was more physical, Randy, if you watch it when the Celtics were playing in the 80s. And that's not, it was better. I'm just saying it was more physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think back then we didn't have the indoor gym. We didn't have the training. So a lot of our stuff was through games. So we learned by playing much older kids that would beat up on you and knock on you. And so these kids right now are blessed to have all this training. But what happens is you get in the gym, a lot of it is one-on-one, not versus a defender, even though certainly we like to simulate that. But I think it's just different. Kids are just really, really different right now.
Bart, there has been so much said, so much written. I mean, it's almost endless when we're talking about all of the conversation about the NIL and not even the transfer portal. I'm not sure how far this will move through Congress, but one of the senators that's involved kind of concerns me, Tommy Tuberville, and then Joe Manchin introduced the PASS Act of 2023. It's a year-long effort they hope strikes a balance between protecting the rights of student athletes and maintaining the integrity of college sports. The bill is the first to be introduced this summer, but it joins other drafts of like legislation shared by members of both the Senate and the House in recent months. Along with, let's just, I'm kind of jumping ahead. Well, let's do this. Let's talk to,
I don't love it.
I want to finish on this, but I want to talk to Tim. Tim, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Randy, Bart, how y'all doing today?
Man, doing great. Thank you, Tim.
Hey, we all are talking about the wrestling and the kids, and I agree with that. But, I seen on TV the other night where they got little kids out there cage fighting now.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I disagree with that 100%.
I'm with you. I don't know what the minimum age would be. I would think at least 16, if not 18. I realize there are certain skills that is needed for MMA. I just think it's a little bit too young.
Yes. And the reason they're giving is for discipline.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that little girl just got mad because she lost. So, I mean, I disagree with that cage fighting 100% for the kids.
Put them into wrestling.
I'm into wrestling.
True.
Yeah.
I'm like you.
True
I watch
wrestling.
it on DTS. Yeah, true wrestling. Well, that's a male soap opera I watch.
I'm not talking about what you watch on Monday nights, Tim. That has nothing to do with real wrestling.
You can learn discipline in any sport.
No, yeah,
done correctly.
But I just disagree with that cage fighting with those little kids.
I'm with you.
To me, that's just making them mean.
But the younger you start them, and I agree, Tim. But here's what you're seeing. And it goes back to what I'm being a trainer for a living. The younger you start and expose a kid to a sport, the more skill and fine motor movements they will build, and they become really good in a hurry. I think that's why basketball is passing football, because there's so many more resources for basketball players at 5 and 6 years old to work on dribble technique. And the same thing would be putting the kids in the cage. I mean, obviously they're going to learn something. Wouldn't be a big fan of that either, but certainly they're learning skill.
But no, I agree. I like watching college wrestling too, because I mean, those kids can do some moves in there.
Yep.
But I wanted to get y'all's opinion on that cage fight. I'm not for that.
Nope.
I can. That's what I had.
All right, Tim. Thank you, buddy. Age 16, age 18, somewhere in there. And if you want to beat their brains out and throw them around against the, put those moves they put on and slam their heads into the mat, that's a different thing.
I think we're seeing a rise in basketball kind of on this point. CTEs in football is a real deal. For moms and the average dad at home that were putting their kids in tackle football at a young age, they're not doing it. Some of them are not. And those players are going to other sports.
I don't know if when Damon put this on the board, if it's the way we want to actually say it, but Jeff, are you wanting to talk about wrestling?
Yes, sir. I just want to say props to Cersei for their program. They've got a fantastic program going over there.
Yes, sir.
I had a grandson that's a 4-time All-Stater at Lake Hamilton. But wrestling prepares these kids, boys and girls, for whatever sport they choose to do down the road. There is nothing like the mental part of standing out there mano a mano, knowing that it's yours to win or lose.
The one thing that, if you remember, Elena talked about, the thing that she wanted to improve upon was mental focus, mental toughness.
And I think that's probably, wouldn't you say, the most underworked skill?
Sure. Being mentally tough. Our old football coaches, and I realize it would be almost to the point of abuse, but drinking out of a water hose. Or maybe getting a salt tablet, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean, I've been involved in programs where we did 3-a-days.
Absolutely.
And even to the extent, there may be a couple of days, and it may have been a week, I can't remember, where we actually spent the night there in the gymnasium.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like a boot camp.
Yep.
And so, I mean, we've come a long way since then, but it taught you toughness.
It did teach you toughness.
I guarantee you it taught
determination.
you
And I don't know what the ratio is, because water was almost seen as a weakness when you don't need water. I think there's a little correlation to you. Now you see these players, if things are not going their way, they'll just quit. Back then, you just didn't see that many players. They would stick it out all the way through. If they didn't come out next year, that's fine. But I think that's a lot of it too.
We did not. I'll say this. We did not drink out of a mud puddle, but
it was close.
It was close. All right. This from our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. Lee says, Bart sounds so different while in the studio, and you sound good.
Oh, thank you, Lee.
Well, now you're locked in to have to come in the studio from now on.
I like being
See?
here. Yep.
Baz and Morning Madness sounded like they were in a locked psych room this morning with their sound. I don't know why, but they were down in Sheridan. Yep. I don't know why. Randy, hope you didn't take that Cardinals/Diamondbacks over bet I tweeted to you yesterday. Read now that Colorado is in serious talks with the Big 12 about joining. Big 12 already being relevant in football. Now, Bart, would that help them build their basketball program, being how good Big 12 is in basketball? I assume you're talking about Colorado rejoining the Big 12. They moved from the Big 12 to the Pac-10 at that time. It became, with Utah, the Pac-12.
And
Bart, will that help them build their basketball program, being how good the Big 12 is in basketball?
I think it certainly will. And their roots were in the Big 12. I don't know why they went to change conferences to begin with, but certainly the Big 12, knowing the basketball pedigree that they have, it's only going to help them in terms of recruiting. And I also think what you get a lot in recruiting is people don't realize the Pac-10 time change is a real thing compared to some of the other conferences out there. So certainly for recruiting, it will help.
Well, we have a very special guest to join us. I guess she'll join us in a moment. There's the music. So, Christy Mann comes up next. So, we're going to learn some more, I do believe, about wrestling or wrestling, either way you want to say it. All right, sports will continue in a moment. Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Bart Reed. I'm Randy Rainwater. Must tell you, if you're looking to replace your lawnmower, look no further than Hennard Foothills Equipment. Now, Hennard has been a Kubota dealer since 1991. Kubota offers a full line of residential and commercial mowers with either gasoline or diesel engines. And they also offer, kind of like you say, the in-state product, and that is Spartan zero-turn mowers. Now, for you, those that need an education for what it's worth, Spartan mowers are manufactured in Batesville. Yep, that's right. And they also have the zero-turn mowers. And if you've ever ridden on one, you know you can save a lot of gas, a lot of diesel with zero turn as compared to the old regular mower that only went forward and backwards. So if you're looking to purchase a mower, you might also want to consider an electric mower. I love my electric mower. And the great thing about it, all I got to do is charge the battery. And I'm interested to see how long it's going to go because it might go throughout the entire summer. That's going to be fantastic. And I don't have to worry with gas or oil or gas and oil mix or anything. Greenworks has I think the premier electric mower. And they got zero-turn mowers through Greenworks. So check out all of the great line you will find at Hennard Foothills Equipment in Searcy. And don't forget, they have service after the sale, 501-268-1987. That's Hennard Foothills Equipment. Let Mickey fit you like he fits you with the glove. That's Hennard Foothills Equipment. All right, Bart, this is going to be interesting. I think it will be anyway.
Yep.
Let's check in with Christy Mann. She is the Arkansas State Chairman, Arkansas's USA Wrestling National Team. Christy, how proud of you are these 75 or so athletes who just competed in Fargo, North Dakota?
Well, you guys, I'm just elated. This group was phenomenal, hardworking, the most criteria group that we've had in the past 15 years. This was our 15th year of going to this big national tournament, and so proud of Elena, that little fighter that she is, and just an elite athlete. And Jerry is one of 10 phenomenal coaches that we took up there. So really proud moment for the state of Arkansas, and I love leading this group. And it's a village and it's a team, and just really happy. We actually garnered 2 All-Americans, Elena on the girls' side, and then we had a young gun, Dane Rennick, from Northwest Arkansas, that made it to the podium in the Greco. So he placed 8, and like I said, the weight classes and the pools are huge. You know, I think Elena had 64. Dane even had a larger group, and when they crawl all the way up to that top 8, they are All-Americans and well-deserved, and just so proud that they had Arkansas written all over them.
So, Christy, how do you, because obviously coaching has a huge aspect in this. What resources do you have? Because if you're not in the sport, how are these coaches already doing it with no background and then learning it kind of not on the fly, but what resources are you providing for them so they make sure and get the top-notch technology and new techniques out there?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because we are considered still a new state in wrestling. But I'm going to kick it back to Greg Hatcher. You know, he's brought in some wonderful coaches and puts a lot of energy into, getting just the mechanics. You know, he brought in Pat Smith and, the 4-time NCAA champion. the skill set that he brings, his academy. We have some great academies out in Northwest Arkansas too. A lot of the Oklahoma stuff kind of filters in. One of the big clubs up there are the Honey Badgers. They produce some elite athletes. And so as far as me educating them, it's like Jerry alluded to, it's getting that knowledge to the high school coaches that may be a football coach / wrestling coach or something like that, that they are really digging in and really studying film, going to our coaches meetings and those kind of things. And every time we can take a good group of coaches to regionals or this big national tournament, they learn Vukus and they bring it back to their clubs and their high schools. So that's where we're really trying to grow it. But that was a great question.
Christy, what is the one area that you feel like Arkansas has closed the gap in, maybe the greatest? Because in some ways, I still think of wrestling in Arkansas in its infant stages, but yet you've taken some huge steps. So what area or areas do you feel like you've closed the gap on?
Well, Randy, honestly, when I'm going to take it back 10 years ago when my middle son was in Fargo and competing, and he was our first
All-American.
One of our first All-American. He was a 2-time All-American up there, and he would never get seeded. And that means they'd look at this big group of wrestlers and go, oh, he's good, they're good, and you get these seeding points, right? And Tyler never got seeded. But it was funny because they usually put him with the number 1 seed, and Tyler would beat him. And so then he's crashed the bracket, and Tyler go on to win. So that's earning respect right there. But now they know that the athletes that are coming out of Arkansas, and when I said that was our most credentialed group, we had several athletes. I would say probably 20 of the 75 had seeding points. And that means they were respected. And that's really been a gap closer as far as, and Jerry alluded to it as well, Elena being one of the first matches and her skill set being, very good. So that we've closed the gap on, it's just someone from Arkansas, don't even seed them, to, hey, those athletes are coming in strong and they need to be respected. Very happy that gap is closed.
I was looking at Elena's face, and I was trying to read her body language, her facial language, and I just couldn't get her there. But she did finally kind of give a little bit when she said how nervous she was on that number 1 mat and being in that kind of spotlight. And then she said what's going to be important next year is to improve her mental toughness and her mental focus. And she's so tiny. I just can't imagine, that little thing up there on that center stage, and trying her best to calm down, get the nerves settled, and then being in a 2-minute round. That is a tremendous amount of credit to Jerry, her coach at Searcy High School, to get her to the point she is now.
Absolutely. And what's really neat about Elena is she's kind of quiet, soft-spoken, but boy, when she steps on that mat,
I could tell.
Her tournament teeth come out, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. She is totally, and then she'll walk back off, and she's just meek and mild and respectful and humble. And that's characteristic of just an awesome athlete. But yes, and she's still young. That's what's so neat is she will, there's 2 divisions up there, cadet and junior. So she'll move into the junior, I believe the junior section next year. So we've got a lot more wrestling for her and for her to represent Arkansas. So really excited that she plays and has that All-American status, which is huge.
So you mentioned academy. So in these academies, are they taking and doing like the mental toughness, technique, skill, all that stuff? Are they even doing some of the recruiting aspect? Like What does that picture look like, or is that more fall on the schools?
I would say it's both. When you well, I'm the mother of 3 boys. All of them did gazillion sports.
Sure.
Your high school coach and your club coach, they sometimes bring a different avenue on maybe how to coach you. But the high school is teaching just mental toughness, and I think you alluded to it earlier. Are the athletes getting softer, or but the academies bring that mental toughness as well. But honestly, just being a wrestler, hey, you're going to step out on this mat. You're not handing a ball off. You're not blocking for anybody. It's just you and the other person. And so you have to be tough to wrestle.
That's good stuff. All right, Christy, thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
And boy,
so
we are
much.
so proud of Arkansas and what was
Yeah.
accomplished most recently at Fargo. Thank you again for your time. All right. This, I believe, is going to be a special treat into itself. We may have to hold him over, but this is Aaron Williams. Now, Aaron, who are you?
I'm Elena's dad.
I knew the answer to that, but I wanted to go ahead and let you say that. How proud you must be of your daughter.
I'm very proud, very proud. Her dedication, hard work over the years. Yes, I am.
What did you feel? What were the emotions? Well, first of all, were you able to go to Fargo? And if you were, what were your emotions while you're watching your daughter wrestle?
Well, unfortunately, I couldn't get off work. I couldn't make it. I watched her online on Flow Sports, and I was speechless that she finally got to reach her point where she's going to be. Well, I'm not totally yet, but she will get to where she wants to be.
Well, I know how nervous I would get when one of my kids was either at the plate or was at the free throw line or otherwise. I mean, you had to go through about 8 matches. That I can't imagine the nerves it took for you to go through that. Aaron, thank you for your time. Congratulations.
Congrats, Aaron.
What a great honor.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing else. I think it's really important to start at an early age. She actually started jiu-jitsu in 3rd grade and then judo in 4th and 5th grade. And I think it's important for all girls to do contact
Final segment here tonight on Drive Time Sports. Bart Reed. I'm Randy Rainwater. Been an interesting night. And we want to finish up with Elena's old pop, Aaron Williams. We were talking about how proud you must have been, Aaron, to watch your daughter through 7, 8, whatever matches it had to be. How wearing was that on you?
Very worrying. I just know that the emotions she has to go through and focus she has to keep to be able to keep winning, keep performing at that level she needs to perform at.
She is so tiny. Where does she get that grit from?
Well, we started at a young age, like y'all were talking about earlier in the show. We actually had her in 3rd grade doing jiu-jitsu, and then she started doing judo in 4th grade. I was in the Army, so I was stationed in Hawaii and in Washington State. So we had her in combat sports basically the whole time she was growing up, And then she started doing wrestling like in 5th grade. So
how many
enjoyed
hours
it,
a week? How many hours a week does she dedicate to wrestling?
I would
Or
say
a day? Hours a day.
A day.
Yeah.
I mean, she usually has 3 practices a week, than her practice at high school. But she also goes at the gym and work out, basically 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that is a tremendous commitment.
It is.
I'm sure you heard earlier that she's going to make that next step from finishing in 7th, which did earn her All-American honors, and she's going to win it next year. Can you see
I
Elena
believe she
taking
can.
that next step?
I believe so. Yes, sir. I think she can do it. She's stay dedicated like she's been doing and just keep on improving. I think she can do it for sure.
Very good. Aaron, congratulations to
Thanks,
Elena and you as her parents for the support that you give her. And I told her I expect to see her next year sailing across this console, not as the 7th place finisher, which did earn All-American honors, but as a national champion. So we hope and wish her the very best going forward.
I hope so too. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Aaron.
So Randy, the big question, because I had to ask people in the basketball world from train, what does it take to get to the college level? What does it take to be that 1%? The amount of time that the 1%ers, the Power Fives, the All-Americans put into their craft is unbelievable. It is almost a full-time job.
Well, Bart, and that brings up an interesting discussion on. I used to always be amazed at how Coach Crawford, within a matter of minutes, could look at a individual and he could say Power 5. He could say lower Power 5. He could say mid-major, and he could go on. And I used to think, as I was sitting there sometimes with him and looking at this same talent, and I'm thinking, what is he seeing differently from that one player that he's calling a Power 5 high major to a mid major or to a Division II player? I mean, sometimes it's obvious. Yeah. I mean, the first time I saw Joe Johnson in person, you knew, okay, this kid is going to be something special.
He's special. But did you know he was going to be so that's what Nick Smith and I, because I said 9th grade that he was going to be an NBA prospect, because you can look at skill and you look at what they're doing combined with fast twitch muscles, mental frame of mind, because Nick was always the alpha dog and you would see older players even defer to him. So if you take skill, size, of course, pedigree matters. Nick's dad played in college. You look at that. So it's an all-encompassing type thing. But I just think with Coach Crawford, what they're looking at, it's the same thing that Bill's looking at. They just move different. They look different. They act different. And it really is palpable when you're watching them on the basketball court. I mean, it really, you notice it.
But that's the thing you have to see with your eye, though.
Well, that's true. But
And then it's got to translate, as you said, that skill set has got to jump out, but they also have to have that other side of them,
yes,
which is that mental side of them.
that's exactly right. And you have to play or be in a system that's going to promote you to get those top accolades, because in a sport that's a team sport versus one-on-one, like it's not as cut and dry. Basketball's not one-on-one, it's 5-on-5. So certainly you have to have that aspect too.
Well, I can in watching through all these years, there's such a fine line, such a fine edge. The one thing, Bart, that I'm puzzled a little bit, and I don't know if you can add any insight to this, but it seems to me we still have so many basketball players that's in our state that are being missed by our state institutions. And it doesn't matter whether or not we're talking from all the way. I cannot believe there's a kid in Norman, Oklahoma that could not be found in the state of Arkansas.
Randy, I agree. And here's what I don't understand. If we've got all this Power 5 talent, why are our Division II, quote, the old NAI, why are they not signing? Why is Arkansas Tech the only team that's getting 2 Arkansas kids? Because you're right. That is something that I think our state institutions really need to get. Our Division II, below our Division I, need to get on board, because there is a ton of talent. And Randy, it's not even that we're not signing. I don't even think we're recruiting them. I don't even think we're aware like we are in some of the other states. And so that's an area where those schools are missing out, because talent is leaving and talent is performing out of state.
So why?
Why are they performing, or why are they leaving?
No, I mean, why are they leaving?
Well,
I mean, why are they being missed by our in-state schools? Why?
Because they're not paying attention. If you look, I would think the most successful Division II programs are exactly where the Division I's are. But see, now they kind of take a step back. So in Las Vegas, during evaluation period, you would only see Division I coaches. Well, Randy, when we played at AAU, it was not just Division I, they're Division IIs, because Bill Ingram has college basketball players all throughout the bench. They just might not be in that starting 5. You might see the Division II, 7, 8. So you have to really, really, really know your demographics and know your teams and know your grassroots and AAU teams. And I don't think we have those type of roots at the coaching level here below the Division I.
Well, okay, if you go by the 13 rule, every school is going to have 13 players on their roster, probably 15 or 17, whatever it may be. But I can't believe there's not more talent in this state than is what is playing on our rosters. And so many of our kids, yes, are leaving. I mean, we're getting kids from Oklahoma, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana. What about our own backyard?
I know, because it's not that hard. And you could see the restraints that it would put on Coach Musselman and Coach Walker sometimes during a Division I season to go in your own backyard and watch a player. Sometimes it's when you're a division, the recruiting schedule gets to be really regional. So I don't think that there's a reason why you're not in your own backyard watching high school basketball games. I don't see it. I don't know why. And I think it needs to change. And it really needs to change in a hurry.
Yep. I'm going to put you in charge of it. It needs to change.
Hey, and that's boys and girls, Randy.
Yeah.
It's not just boys.
No. I thank you. I'm making it all sound like it's boy only. No, it's girls only, or girls as well.
Yep.
So yeah, it's something that needs to be addressed, and hopefully we'll keep more of them at home.
Sure.
And I do believe if you're thinking about wanting to put, tails in the seats, more local products that you have,
fastest way to do it.
Got to believe it can help. Well, we're about to wind it down. How did it feel your first day in the studio?
Well, I love it being in the studio. So I was here for 3 hours in 1997 after the King Cotton. So technically my second, but I love it. It's just like I remember it. Always love spending time with you. So thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Been an honor.
And yes, thank you. I know I've got you on again tomorrow, and we'll probably be a little bit more specific maybe in some ways than what we were today. All right, that is it. We got to say so long and good night for the Bart Reed, Pure Sweat Basketball Skills. I'm Randy Rainwater, Buzz Animal Cruelty. Spay and neuter your pet for the Buzz Radio Network. So long, everybody.